Hey team, well it's good to talk to you. I wanted to get together and do some training, but figured with us being time poor, maybe the best way to do this was to put it on video and let you work your way through it. As you're aware, we've had workplace health and safety in and doing assessments and all the things that they do, or audits and all the things that they do, and I thought it was important that we make sure that we get all of our RTO documentation accurate and sorted out. I mean, you're in charge of your assessments and you should know how to mark those and how to present those and do all of those things. But when it comes to the RTO work, we need to be on the same page. And there's been changes of late, and so I thought it'd be good to walk through, show you all the things that are required so that you can do it the way it needs to be done and we won't get ourselves into any trouble as far as our documentation is concerned. So let's start with the enrolment forms. We've got new enrolment forms, and of course they need to be filled in, and you need to check that the details are all correct. But some of the things that are really important that you need to check are going to be the signatures down the bottom. The signature needs to be signed and dated, and it's important that it's dated prior to assessment day. They can't do their training, enroll and train on the same day as they have assessed, and so those dates need to be not on assessment day. So if someone comes in and they don't have an enrolment form and they fill it in there and then, they can't date it with today's date. It has to be dated prior to. They're enrolled before they start the course. And the other thing you need to note is that just above where they sign their names, there's a little box that talks about session times. And if this is the first time they've come in for a face-to-face, then you'd need to put the date as today's date. Under that, you'd put the time that they start, and so if they're there for an assessment, 7 a.m. through till say 2 or 3 p.m. And then to the left of that, there would be a little box. There's two boxes they can tick. One would be that they've done the pre-training. That's the one they need to tick. And then my name could be on the line where it says trainer's name or your name, or both, my name and your name, and that would be awesome. You also need to check both sides of the enrolment document to see that they've ticked all the relevant boxes and that everything's okay there, and that their student identifier number has been filled in at the top, and if not, that they filled in the student form, the student identifier form, and that is also stapled with their documents. And so the enrolment form needs to be complete and kept and filed as we do that. Now, the other thing that we need to make really good use of is our appraisal, the pre-assessment questionnaire that we give to the students to both work as a refresher for them and also to act as evidence that they're ready to be assessed. Now, of course, on the document for the RTO, the readiness document, we need to mark on there how many questions the student got right. It's very important that you get this correct. They must get 70 out of 70 correct. However, let me explain how that works. We need to have them answer the questions, and they need to get 80%, no more than 14 wrong for the LF forklift assessment or pre-assessment quiz. Now, they will get some questions wrong, and how we mark it up to 70 out of 70 is that we then need to explain to them what was wrong in the questions that they marked incorrectly. We need to explain to them what was the right answer, how they need to come about the right answer, and things like that. Now, be smart about this, because the questions in this pre-assessment also are excellent to use in your discussion with the students before their actual assessment. Because a number of these things, they'll usually be the same questions that people get wrong. A number of them you can use to have a discussion about load center distance, about rated capacity, distances from power lines, hierarchy of control. You know the sorts of questions that they tend to get wrong. What should you do if you drive against power lines, how you reverse off and the different steps they should take, and make sure that they know enough of those. You need to be able to talk through with them before their actual assessment. This is now before they start reading. They get 15 minutes to read the assessment. In your little blurb before that, when you're explaining how the assessment's going to go and everything, also run through the questions that were the key questions from the pre-assessment quiz that are going to be nice and fresh in their minds so they'll know what the answers need to be. While we're talking about that evidence form for the RTO, on the section down the bottom where it says comments, Kevin Steele commented recently from Workplace Health and Safety that we don't really have a challenge test. And although we do and we tick the boxes, he wants us to actually write what this trainee has done. Tom has moved the tire from the top of the racking through the course and brought it back competently, and also make a statement on the yes, Tom is ready to be assessed. And so if you could also just fill in that comment section, that would really make it clear that we have checked and made sure that each person is ready to be assessed. And try not to, on every form, write the same thing. Write something specific about Tom, and then about Jim, and then about whoever it happens to be. Tom didn't look over his shoulder each time, and I needed to remind him, but now I think he's got it. Something specific to them would also be beneficial, I think, to do. So that's something that we need to work well at. And we need to have them well prepped so that when the actual assessment starts, they don't need to talk. They won't need to ask questions. They'll understand what's expected of them. And these things you should know because you're the assessors, but make sure you've got it very clear and do it well, because on the day that Workplace Health and Safety come to do an audit with you, if you're not familiar with what to do, you're going to bumble and stumble and cause yourself difficulty and give them reason to write up a non-compliance. And so be just very sure about the types of things you want to talk to them about before the assessment starts. Why don't you write some of the answers down or some of the questions down so that you can go through a list? Because almost every week it's going to be the same questions that people struggle with. And so you could have a little blurb written out and you just go through each one and explain them methodically, knowing exactly what to do.